Hey y'all, it's Eli. I hope everyone's doing all right. It's dinner time. I'm hungry. Let's get to cooking. As y'all can see, we've got a lot going on tonight. We're going to start off by dredging our cube steak in some flour that has already been seasoned with garlic, onion powder, pepper, and salt. Just push them around, try to get everything coated pretty good. You're going to cook these 5 minutes per side. This one kind of looks like a heart. So I can't fit all 4 in here at the same time. I'm going to cook 3, flip these, put the other one in. But in the meantime, we can go ahead and start on our peas and dumplings. That's a good old country favorite. Grandmother probably used to make it. So you're going to start with 2 cups of 2% milk, 2 cans of peas that have been drained, 1 stick of butter. Yes, the whole stick. We're Paula Deen in here. You're going to cook the milk and the peas in the butter until the butter is melted and you are at a boil. Then we're going to come back and pinch in some biscuits. It's just canned biscuits. While we're waiting on that to boil, we can go ahead and throw in half a stick of butter, along with half of a sweet onion that I sliced up. I did not dice this one. To that, you're just going to throw in a bag of green beans. You can get these fresh and pick them yourself, whatever you want to do, but this was on sale, so that's what I'm using. So I ended up going an extra 2 minutes on my cube steaks. You can see they're pretty thick, so instead of 5 minutes, I did 7 minutes. I want to do 5 minutes on the other side and see what they look like. Might add another 2 minutes after the 5 minutes is up. We'll just see. You can see our butter is melted over here, but we're not to a boil yet, so we'll move on to our green beans. I forgot to tell y'all, I put in about a tablespoon of olive oil along with our half a stick of butter. That is sauteing our onions. They're starting to tenderize. So I'm going to add in our bag of beans. You can go ahead and add in some garlic powder, probably half a teaspoon. Same amount of onion powder. Salt and pepper. Stir that around again. I'm going to press in 2 garlic cloves. I'm not going to stir these in. I'm going to let them sit right on top. Now we'll cover this, reduce the heat to just below medium, and let that sit, I guess, about 4 minutes. You can see our milk is boiling back here. Now you can pop open your can of biscuits. Make sure you don't scare yourself to death. I probably will. through. Okay. So this is really simple, aside from making sure you don't scorch your milk. Probably a good idea to turn it down after you come to a boil. Just gonna take your biscuit and just pinch it apart. You can of course use homemade biscuits here if you want, but this really accomplishes the same flavor. And it's a wheat nut, so I'm not trying to spend all day making biscuits. Give them a gentle stir, make sure you're not sticking together. Our biscuits are added. I'm giving it a stir. Make sure you're scraping along the bottom as you go because you have milk in here and no water. You really don't want to scorch this. You'll ruin the dish. Turn it down. You're going to let this simmer for 8 or 9 minutes. You'll be able to tell when it starts to get nice and thick. Our timer just went off on our 5 minutes on this side for the cube steak. I'm going to cut into one and see what it looks like. That's perfect. So we had 7 minutes on the first side, and then we had 5 minutes on the second side. Add in a splash more oil to your pot. Dredge your last cube steak. Five more minutes. Stir your dumplings. Scraping the bottom. You can see how it's really starting to thicken up already. I'm going to move back over here to our green beans. They've been steaming for the last 4 or 5 minutes. Our garlic is fragrant and not burnt because I didn't let it touch the bottom of the pan. Now I'm going to let this saute uncovered, probably until this cube steak needs flipped, and that'll get rid of the excess moisture. So they're not going 7 minutes on the first side of this one as well. We'll do 5 minutes on the second side. I ended up adding another splash of milk, maybe a 1/4 cup to this because it got really thick on us, and I did not want it to not cook the biscuits all the way through. So I'm going to let that simmer another couple of minutes. I hope y'all can see this. These green beans are perfect. They are not mushy. They retain their color, so they're going to look good on your plate. They've got plenty of flavor. So I'm going to go ahead and take these off. Peas and dumplings are done as well. Hope you guys can see that. They're very thick. The dumplings are cooked through. There's no liquid per se left in them, so I'm going to set these off to the side so that way they don't burn. This cube steak is now finished. Put it off to the side. I'm sure y'all know not to touch anything cast iron without a kind of oven mitt. Hope you guys love my oven mitt. So we're gonna leave the drippings in here. We're not gonna drain any of the fat or the drippings off of the meat. We are gonna add in about a tablespoon of olive oil. We're gonna add in half of a diced sweet onion. We're gonna let this onion render down for about 5 minutes. So our onions have cooked down. You can see they are getting kind of translucent. We're gonna add in about 12 ounces of mushrooms. I washed these, dried them off, and cut them in half. Add in half a stick of butter, 4 tablespoons. Give this a stir. Cook this stirring occasionally for 7 or 8 minutes until your mushrooms cook down. They're going to evaporate all the water out of them. Then we're going to come back and finish our mushroom gravy. It's been about 7 minutes. You can see the mushrooms have cooked down nicely. I'm going to push them around the edges. Press in 3 garlic cloves. Let this cook another minute or 2 until they are fragrant. Our garlic is fragrant, starting to thicken up here, so now I'm going to throw in 4 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. We're going to stir this around constantly for 2 minutes. This is going to make a roux and give us a really nice, deep flavor in our gravy. In 2 minutes, now we're going to throw in 2 cups of beef broth. Quarter teaspoon of thyme. A little bit of salt and pepper. Stir this all. Make sure you scrape the bottom as you're stirring. Get all those little tidbits of flavor off. This is going to thicken up over the next couple of minutes into a gravy. If it's too thin, you can add a little bit more flour. If it gets too thick, you can add a little bit more broth or even water. I ended up adding about 1 more tablespoon of flour, stirred it around for about 2 minutes. Gravy has a really nice consistency now. As it cools off, it's going to thicken up even more, so you really don't want this to turn into a consistency like mashed potatoes. You really got to be careful with it. Y'all, dinner is ready. Looks awesome. This is definitely a country style meal. Peas and dumplings first. That's delicious. That takes me back to Madisonville. Here's about a cube steak with some gravy. That's perfect. That is so tender and flavorful. That mushroom gravy is awesome. Here's some green beans. Y'all, this whole meal is just wholesome. I wouldn't say it's good for you because there's 2 sticks of butter divided up in here and like 3 cups of flour. Definitely delicious, something different than a pizza or takeout. Really didn't take too long. I hope you guys will try at least one of these recipes. I don't know if you've ever had peas and dumplings. If you haven't, definitely need to get them. These green beans are to die for. They're pretty good for you. They're really fast. The gravy, kind of tough to make, but can't really go wrong. Add more liquid, add more flour if you need that. Hope you guys enjoyed watching Cooking for Everybody. Now from Cooking for Everybody, everybody get cooking.